Hi, today we are looking at Cobalt Blue Deep. We're starting with the Vinci, which is actually a PB28. Cobalt Blue Deep is generally a PB74, and some brands like Szmal use a PB72, but today it's just going to be PB74s with the exclusion of Da Vinci, which made a darker cobalt that they're calling Cobalt Blue Deep, which is a PB28 that you're looking at right now. So as far as Cobalt Blue Deeps go, they're very light fast, semi-opaque, they're moderately staining, they're very dark valued, they can be moderately tense to moderately dull violet blue pigment, and you'll see the violet come out when I do the washes. Unrated by the ASTM, but manufacturers, along with handprint, assign it excellent in light fastness. So this is a very light fast color. And now we are on Cobalt Blue Deep by Winsor and Newton, and you'll see the difference here. And I'm also going to do this on rough watercolor paper as well in a little bit so you can see the difference. Okay, so in watercolors, the PB74 undergoes a small drying shift. It lightens by about 10% and loses saturation. But as you see here, there's not really much of a drying shift, or as you'll see in a moment. The tinting strength of Cobalt Blue Deep is moderate. And the best mixing components are raw umber and raw sienna, both PBR7s. Quin Gold, and Hansa Yellow Deep. So this group of pigments is recently developed. It's sort of an extension to the Cobalt range, and they are warmer and darker valued than regular cobalts. So I think that's where you get the Da Vinci calling it a Cobalt Blue Deep, because it is the darker portion of what you would normally see with a Cobalt Blue Deep. It is just a different pigment number. So now we are looking at Roman Szmal. I think they did really well with this, but it's also hard to compete because they obviously come in full pans and everything else I was using was wet paint. So to me, they weren't, or Roman Szmal's was not as dark and saturated as Winsor Newton and Schmincke, but like I said, I think that had to do with the pan. I was very, very happy with the granulation. Sometimes using a PB74 is a benefit over ultramarine because it's light fast, but it's less transparent, and it doesn't show very much color shift as it dries. So even if you're putting it down really wet, you still kind of know what you're going to get. So that is a really, really good benefit. So now we're looking at, okay, the dispersion, and now we're looking at Schmincke. I really love the Schmincke. My first 5 ml tube from Jackson's was really bad, and they replaced it for me. And now I'm really loving this. I would say it is slightly more granulating than the Winsor & Newton, which I wasn't 100% positive on until I did the swatching these out on rough paper that you'll see before I do the mass tone. Sorry. And I think you can really see how dark these are also when we do the dispersion tests, which will be up next. I thought that this was really, really dark in the dispersion test, but what I found with Schmincke is it's a lot more watery almost, or liquidy, I should say, than the Winsor & Newton, which came out a little bit more solid. And so that could be why it looks so dark. So this is on rough watercolor paper. So the first one is Da Vinci. There wasn't a way for me to zoom in on this because of just the shape of it, but I think you can get a lot better feeling on this paper. I actually have Winsor & Newton on my main palette, and so when I did the initial washes on these, I wasn't really happy, and I didn't think it really represented these colors, so I decided to do this. Now the second one is Winsor Newton. Wait, no, that's Roman Szmal. Sorry, Roman Szmal. And I really am happy with Roman Szmal. The only thing is it makes me wonder what it would look like when it was fresh before it was poured into pans. Because I think it would be quite equal to the other two if it wasn't for that. I re-wet it as best I could, but it was a little bit harder than obviously the other ones that were really wet. Schmincke was the easiest to lift up. Okay, now this is Winsor Newton, and you can see how much brighter that is than the other two, than the Da Vinci and the Roman Szmals. But I think the closest two are definitely Winsor Newton and Schmincke. And I kind of like Schmincke a little bit more, even though I've always loved the Winsor Newton. But Schmincke just granulates more. But it is such a small distinction. So this is Schmincke. That with this, I would say if you like one of these two, to get the one that is cheapest in your area, because they really are similar. I was just not expecting Schmincke to be as granulating as it was. And you can even see here. And then we should go back in a second after I take off the tape, and we're going to do the glazing. I'm going to zoom in on these real quick first, though, so that you can really see the granulation. So that's Da Vinci on the left. And you can see it doesn't really get as violet as the other ones. Okay, Roman Szmal. I mean, if you use these light enough, you could use them as a violet. Like a lavender color, if you're doing really light, like florals. And then Winsor Newton is on the right. And then the last one is Schmincke. And it almost looks like one of those super granulating colors all by itself. It is just so granulating. I was kind of blown away. But now you can see why I wanted to do it on rough paper. Okay, so there they are. There's the four on the Moulin de Roux paper. And now we're back to glazing. Da Vinci, Cobalt Blue Deep, obviously. It's the only Da Vinci color we're using right now. And the Da Vinci one does go really dark. So if you want like a darker version that's a tiny bit more opaque than ultramarine, but you don't want the strong granulation, then Da Vinci would fit that. And then this next one is Winsor Newton. And now we're on to Roman Szmal. See, this almost looks like semi-transparent to semi-opaque here. And the other ones just weren't that light. Okay, and then Schmincke. And like I said, this was very, very like liquidy. Not bindery, just very, very liquidy. Which I guess isn't a huge surprise with Schmincke. But you get a lot of paint if you're putting it down wet. Okay, and there's the four. Let's take the paper off. And what I actually did is I touched these up because I wasn't really happy with that big brush I was using. I just wanted to try something new. So I'm going to show you real quick these as they are. And then I'm also going to show you real quick after I touch them up with the smaller brush and kind of smooth them out. So that's Da Vinci. And then we have Winsor Newton. And I do think you can see the granulation much more with Winsor Newton here, with it being lighter. That's the problem, is when you have lots of water, you can see the granulation, but then it's uneven and you don't get to see the depth. Okay, Roman Szmal. Now, I did not touch Roman Szmal or Schmincke. I think they both came out fine the first time. And that's another thing. Schmincke went down beautiful the first time. And I really, really do like that Schmincke. It's making me consider replacing the Winsor Newton on my palette, actually. Okay, so there's that 4, and then I'm going to show you after I touched them up real quick, and then we'll be done. So there, I just kind of evened it out so you can get a better feel. So that's Da Vinci. I really, really do like the dispersion on that one. Okay, and then Winsor Newton. Now this one did get a lot darker, you can see. Okay, Roman Szmal, which I didn't touch, like I said. I don't know why the bottom 2 came out so nice. Okay, and then Schmincke. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching my video. I will see you next time.